These real stories of real demons living inside these abandoned hospitals will absolutely terrify you, for real. The Linda Vista Community Hospital, located in Los Angeles, California. Linda Vista Community Hospital is a former hospital located at 610 30 South Street, St. Louis Street in Los Angeles, California. Now, it's in the Boyle Heights neighborhood. The hospital was originally constructed for employees of the Santa Fe Railroad and called the Santa Fe Coastlines Hospital. Now, the hospital gained notoriety as one of America's most haunted hospitals, originally treating gang violence victims in the 1970s and 1980s. The hospital closed in 1991. After its closure, the hospital became a very popular filming location for productions, including films, TV shows, and music videos. It has also become the subject of several paranormal investigations. Now, the hospital was sold in 2011 and converted into a low-income senior living facility called Hollenbach Terrace in 2015. Linda Vista Community Hospital is widely known for its alleged hauntings. Many visitors have reported hearing footsteps, moaning, and groaning even after the hospital was closed down. Some claim to have seen shadowy figures moving around the premises, especially in the emergency rooms. Now, a ghostly figure resembling a doctor pacing the corridors has been reported by some investigators, and a pacing young woman on the third floor, as well as the spirit of an orderly still making his rounds. Now, one person actually shared their story from a visit and said, "We were live streaming at 2:03 a.m. in the pediatric wing of Linda Vista when our camera picked up a shadow crawling along the ceiling. No footsteps, no noise, just this thing that kind of slithered like it had no bones. When we reviewed the footage later, we caught what looked like a face, red eyes, very sharp cheekbones, staring straight into the lens. None of us saw it in real time, but all three cameras did." That's terrifying. The Belitz-Heilstatten Hospital in Brandenburg, Germany. Now, the Belitz-Heilstatten Hospital, located near Berlin, is actually known for its eerie atmosphere in association with historical figures, aka the bad guys. While some claim it's haunted, others say the ghostly reputation actually stems from the abandoned state and the echoes of the past. Now, the hospital's history includes use as a sanatorium, a place for war officials, and later a Soviet army hospital. Now, Belitz-Heilstatten was a large hospital complex with a very long history, including periods of a tuberculosis sanatorium and location for notable figures, and the building's abandoned state and the stories surrounding its past have contributed to a sense of unease and a claim of it just being haunted. Now, Belitz has a reputation for its wild World War II era history and neurological experiments. Now, there's a local legend of a ghost named Schleicher von Belitz, hope I'm pronouncing that right, who is said to have roamed the halls in the late 90s as well as the early 2000s, deterring vandals and misbehaving kids. Now, this legend adds to the overall eerie atmosphere of the site. One person actually shared a story on Reddit and said, "What we caught on tape was something deeper. In the surgical ward, we heard knocking from behind sealed walls. The knocks turned into scratching, then into a very deep, growling voice that simply said, 'Belieb,' which is German for stay. So we left. The audio file, well, it got corrupted that night." That's creepy, right? I'm glad they didn't follow orders and they did decide to leave, because that's one thing you won't ever need me to do. I'll be gone faster than you can blink, so believe that. Now, some sections of the hospital are still used for neurological rehabilitation as well as Parkinson's research, and it has also been used as a film set for movies like The Pianist as well as Valkyrie. Now, visitors can access the site and there are tours available, so let me know if you ever visit. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in Weston, West Virginia. Now, this National Historic Landmark served as a sanctuary for the mentally ill in the mid-1800s. This 160-year-old asylum holds very fascinating stories. It includes Civil War raids and also a gold robbery. There are also stories about the curative effects of architecture. Now, the efforts of determined individuals helped better the lives of the mentally ill. Now, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, now widely considered one of the most haunted destinations in America, America, it actually operated from 1864 all the way to 1994. Although it was designed for 250 patients, about 2,400 were actually crammed in there, and they were treated very poorly. Now, ghost hunts of this massive building run year-round, and one person shared their experience there. He said when he visited for a tour, he expected to be joined by, hardcore paranormal investigators, kind of weighed down with camera gear and digital recorders, but it wasn't like that at all. He said, we broke into smaller groups, spending 2 hours on each of the asylum's 4 floors before rotating. Our tour guide told us about some of the hospital's better known spirits, including a little girl named Lily who was born in the asylum, a man named Jesse who actually passed away of a heart attack in a bathtub, Civil War soldiers, as well as a patient who was kind of unalived brutally by his roommates. Now, he said the hospital is so vast that it was easy to end up alone despite, the dozens of other people wandering around. It was also easy to feel lost amid the maze of hallways and patient rooms, covered in peeling paint. He said we were filming a kind of lights out challenge inside the women's ward. He said at 3:14 a.m. a camera set up in the hallway caught a figure walking backwards in complete silence. When we tried to enhance the image, its face blurred like static, but the eyes, pure black, stayed very clear. Now, paranormal experts later told them that what they saw was a shadow parasite. He continued to say by 4:30 a.m., he's like, I was ready to go. He said, as I drove away, I thought about whether I actually believed what I saw. He said, I've always been fascinated by ghosts, but am I convinced they exist? Honestly, not sure. There's actually a lot of stories from this hospital, so search it up on Google if you're intrigued. The Rolling Hills Asylum in East Bethany, New York. Now, one of the most haunted locations in the whole of the United States. It was established in 1827. The Rolling Hills Asylum, or the Genesee County Poorhouse, which was originally a working farm, soon became a refuge for some of society's less fortunate. So widows and orphans mingled with the mentally ill, and the unclaimed passed on were actually buried on the property. With over 1,700 documented demises and hundreds not recorded, it's no wonder, Haunted North America rated it as the second most haunted site in the United States. Often resembling a reformatory, a poorhouse often housed orphan children, families, destitute elderly, physically handicapped, mentally unstable, morally corrupt, even criminals. Now, these institutions were situated on the grounds of a poor farm on which, able-bodied residents were actually required to work. Such farms were, actually very common in the United States in the 19th and early 20th centuries. Now, poorhouse was a government-run facility for the support and housing of dependent or just needy persons, typically run by a local government entity such as, a county or a municipality. Now, institutions of this nature were widespread in the United States prior to the adoption of the Social Security program in the 1930s. Residents were referred to as inmates, no matter, why they were housed there, and those physically able-bodied would have to work the farm, and many actually built and made wares to sell, to help offset some of their living expenses. Now, the raising of Holstein's pigs, draft horses, chickens, and ducks, raising vegetable and fruit crops, canning jams, jellies, meats, that was all part of their chores. One visitor shared their visitation story online and said, I was standing in the solitary confinement corridor when a deafening scream erupted from the far end. The problem? Well, that hallway had caved in years ago, but the camera caught the scream echoing, bouncing unnaturally as if it came from inside our own equipment. The audio waveform even shows a second, much deeper voice overlapping the scream, like something was inside of her. Well, as creepy as that is, I bet some of you would still like to visit, am I right? Well, there's an upcoming event on June 4th. It's about 5 hours and it costs about $600. So if you've got the nerve, the time, and the money, check it out and thank me later.
David Bourget and his family live in Florida now after they were urged to flee from their Springfield, Massachusetts home following a disturbing paranormal event. So back in October of 2020, David's front door camera let him know that a package was on the porch, so he opened the door to retrieve it. Well, as his front door swung inwards, the camera mounted on it faced into the living room where his wife sat on the sofa. And the footage shows David dragging this large parcel inside, wrestling it into the center of the room. Now, he decided to review the front door footage to see if he could determine whether the package arrived damaged or if the carrier had been too rough with the box. And what he saw on the camera was absolutely freaking terrifying. So as he opened the door, the camera captures a skeletal figure in a black robe sitting on the couch next to his wife. And the figure that looks very much like the Grim Reaper doesn't move at all during the video. It stares unblinkingly towards the camera. Wifey never saw the being, but she did sense it. She reportedly felt cold and pain on the side of her body closest to where the entity sat. And there was nobody else in the building at the time the entity appeared. So after consulting with paranormal investigators, the family was like, hey, let's sell this place, get out of here because we're not dealing with this. And good on them. More often than not, folks stay behind, fight the demon. Not worth it. A dog-walking couple says they bumped into something pretty terrifying. A creepy-looking figure crossed right in front of them in the dark, and even though they caught it on camera, they have no clue what this is. Hannah and Dave Rowett were strolling with their pups through Clumber Park in Nottinghamshire, England, and they bumped into this shadowy creature. You can see it seemingly appear out of thin air and cross their path before going poof. So Hannah's picture was taken as a live photo. So with live photos, you can make them into videos. And then their daughter posted it to Facebook. They were like, oh, seems we weren't alone on our early morning walk today. And the post kind of did gangbusters. It got about 500 reactions. There was thousands of comments, shares. Somebody was like, maybe it's the ghost of a dog or a fox. Somebody else commented saying they had chills seeing that. They're like, how lucky are you? Now, a lot of folks were like, maybe this was cigarette smoke. Maybe this was a vape. The couple's like, we don't smoke. It wasn't that. Apparently, Dave is like, I am a full-blown skeptic, but this encounter made me a believer. He's like, I've always been really skeptical, but literally every hair from my feet to my head stood on end. He's like, I asked her to show me the photo again. I loved it. Now, while the couple might never know what they saw, Hannah feels comforted by the online detectives. She's like, I've had so many messages about it. It justifies our feeling about it. There aren't many like this out there, and we've got no logical explanation. Well, fun fact folks, apparently this park is supposedly haunted by a gray lady spirit. This woman in a long coat, a demon, crawling on her long limbs, which kinda lines up pretty well with the hunched over thing we saw in the clip. So a paranormal investigator claims to have recorded his best evidence yet of the unknown. Mark Davies and 3 friends visited Erie Wood, Kennelvale at Cornwall back in early 2019 when they had this encounter. He claims footage showing a silhouette appearing across a small bridge, which leads to one of the really, left behind, busted up mills standing on the site, shows something. So Mark and his friends were trying to measure paranormal activity in the area. They wanted to communicate with supernatural beings. So in the video, Mark was like, I always knew they existed. I have felt them, smelt them, heard them. And now, I have seen them. Some may call them aliens, some may call them demons, the Watchers, many other names. And this was his best evidence visual up to date of a non-human being caught on a video camera. He's like, some folks think it's a hoax, that I manipulated the evidence provided. And he's like, well, the evidence is here. The proof is in the pudding. So in the clip, he's like, show us that you're here. Show us that you live on, please. We're here to communicate with you. Well, a couple seconds after that, Mark's friend Wendy starts losing her air. She's coughing, as we're seeing something happening on the bridge. So Mark continues, can all the spirits in these woods stand in front of the bridge? And he's like, hey Wendy, you okay? He was also asking, is it safe to go beyond this bridge? If it's dangerous, can you show yourself, please, on this camera? And then there was a bit of a change of frequency. Mark started to be physically affected by the presence. So the video shows he had to walk away from the bridge for a bit. Apparently, his back started to kill him. Mark later said, although the group felt a presence, the creature could not be seen in person. And when asked what kind of being it was, Mark was like, I haven't got any idea. The face is not right. It's not human. But it's definitely there. It was a solid form. I don't want to go there again. He's like, yeah, it gave me a feeling that scared the hell out of me. I just think it's evil. It's not from this world. It was definitely there and it was a solid form. He felt a presence, a coldness and a pain. He just asked it to show itself and it was there. Yeah, I can see why you wouldn't want to do that again. Back in 2015, on his way home from work, David, a resident of the Garden State, says he captured something on his camera, and it's not something normal. So the resident of Little Egg Harbor Township was driving past a golf course on Route 9 when he spotted this monster. He told the local news it was around 6 p.m., and he was like, maybe it was a llama, because sure, random llamas, folks. And as he got closer, he pulled out his camera and took a photo, because llamas on the side of a highway. Kind of funny. But then, apparently, this creature sprouted wings and took flight from the course it was hanging out on. So our witness said his heart was racing as he witnessed both incredible wonder and deep-seated nightmarish thoughts while capturing the footage. Now, apparently this photo was not photoshopped. It wasn't staged. And he's like, a lot of people said it's fake. He's like, I'm just looking for an explanation as to what I saw. So he did take a number of photos, because when you take out your phone, you're like, click, 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 click. But only one of them clearly showed the devilish demon as described in dozens of stories. The photo showed a creature with dark brown fur, wings on its back, and cloven feet. He described it as large, about a flying mammal the size of a deer. Well, if you look at the photo, you can clearly see wings on the creature's back, horns on its head, Its feet are correct and the fur is dark brown and it's off the ground. Look, I don't see any wires or string holding it up like a piñata. So after his encounter, the witness said he stared at the photo for an hour. He was trying to come up with any kind of explanation for the image he had captured, and he came up with nothing. So going off of that cell phone statement, we've all got them these days, which means we got a lot of footage, and we've got time for one more clip. It starts off perfectly innocent, showing a girl and her friend laughing together in a bedroom. In fact, the woman who filmed it didn't notice anything strange about it until she sent it to a friend, and they were like, hey, what's that burnt red-faced demon behind you? So the clip made its way to Reddit, and the caption was, something with a red face came up behind my friend. She was hanging out, there was nobody else in the room with her, and it randomly shows up behind the girl on the left's head. The poster also said it was a demon maybe or something, because like lots of bad stuff was happening at her house and sad stuff with the family. So it happens very quickly. It only appears in the last second of the video. But someone brought the clip to YouTube where they analyzed it, slowed it down, and you could really see the creepy figure. Commenters on the video were disturbed. Somebody was like, dang, that is some scary S-H-I-T. You can see it rising behind the girl. Or, oh my god, it's Freddy Krueger. And Reddit was like, that scared me. Regretting watching that late at night. Yeah, I had regrets too. And such spine-tingling instance unfolded during a 2016 live ghost hunting expedition captured by the YouTube channel Live Sci-Fi. And as the playback began, what unfolded was a perplexing revelation. A member of the team, Tim, while reviewing the recorded audio, noticed that they appeared to be communicating with a malevolent entity, possibly even the devil himself.
What?
Now, in a lot of cases, skeptics might be like, okay, no, faulty equipment, this could just be you picking up noises in an old house, which could be an easy, escape from the macabre. But this recording proves otherwise. And what added an even more hair-raising layer to this story was the presence of an unexpected character, Patches the dog. Animals are pretty susceptible to the unknown. So as the voice of the alleged devil resonated through the recording, Patches exhibited some very bizarre behavior.
Oh, sorry, Patch. Chill out.
The dog's erratic movements and strange reactions aligned perfectly with the moments when the sinister voice kind of emerged. And then the audio took a very dark and crazy turn. A chilling utterance emerged from the abyss of the recording, saying, I am the devil. The words were clear, unsettling, and kind of thought-provoking. They kind of inject a profound sense of dread into the atmosphere.
Yeah, I am the devil.
The Live Sci-Fi folks found themselves in the midst of a haunting conundrum, and it's one that left them kind of stumped. This story kind of prompted a lot of questions. They're like, okay, was this a genuine communication with an otherworldly entity? Maybe it was the power of suggestion, maybe it was collective fear, maybe this was a hoax, but I don't think so. It seemed pretty legit to me. You let me know your theory in the comments. This next story of a demonic encounter kind of took a lot of folks to the limits of their understanding, and challenged their perception of reality. This unsettling episode unfolded in 1999, when an individual known as Maurice the Wizard accompanied a pastor to a house plagued by, demonic possession. The pastor, doubling as a demonologist, issued a very careful warning to Maurice before their fateful visit. Just brace yourself for what might happen here, okay? This one's quite bad, are you ready? Maurice, though inexperienced in such matters, was like, I got this, I'm ready to go. Well, the recording that emerged from that ominous night is nothing short of chilling. In it, a malevolent presence, some sort of demon, roused directly in Maurice's face. The demon's words are laced with profanity and violent threats, and it's a lot of stuff that we can't see on the internet. But we do have a smidgen of the recording that we can play, so listen to it now.
It's about with other people, you can get off and do something decent.
See what I mean? So what sets this case apart is kind of how disturbing the auditory anomaly is. Amid the, plethora of sinister utterances, you also got a series of belching noises, which, yeah, those are kind of common with demons, but it doesn't make them any less gross. Astonishingly, Maurice claimed that these eerie sounds didn't require any specialized equipment for being heard. So there was no EVPs, no nothing. This demon was speaking plain as day. Well, it's time to chat about another terrifying place, the Sally House. Built in the mid-1800s, commissioned by the Finney family and home to Dr. Charles Finney, who practiced medicine from the house, he used the bottom floor for his practice, and also used another bedroom as an office. Everybody else lived upstairs until they moved up because they needed more space, and this place is haunted by the ghost of a girl who died there. According to the legend, a gal named Sally was brought to the doctor's house by her mom for severe abdominal pain. So he's like, okay, let's give you some anesthesia and emergency surgery, because he's like, it's gonna be the appendix. Sadly, he started the procedure before the anesthesia kicked in, and as he continued doing surgery, Sally was shrieking because she felt the pain. Turns out the procedure sadly ended up killing her, with her last memories of a man whom she believed was harming her. Though the house had long been known to be haunted, Sally's haunting grew ominous in 1993 when the house was rented to a young couple. Their dog seemed to growl at nothing, especially near the upstairs, areas. Things began to take a violent turn though when fires broke out in the house. There was a series of sinister attacks on the husband. The operating area would get icy cold, and when the man entered, objects would visibly move towards him. He could feel scratches upon his chest or his abdomen. But the ghost never attacked the wife or descendants. Multiple former tenants have alleged paranormal activity here. It has been especially reported that male residents and visitors have been scratched until liquid poured from their skin, and Sally's been dubbed the man-hating ghost. Also, I guess she likes running up and down the stairs leading to the second floor because a lot of folks feel her presence there. The basement of the floor has a big smudge on the middle where apparently once somebody put a pentagram there, used it for demonic rituals and sacrifices, and psychics have confirmed the presence of spirits dwelling in the home and have actually communicated with them. So there's been a lot of skeptics that have left as believers. Visits by paranormal investigators have provided audio, video, and photographic proof that there's something going on. That's how we have the audio today. Thank you, Live Sci-Fi, once again, because they called this place the scariest place they've ever been.
Who touched my leg?
Well, here's a location that really shouldn't shock anybody by being demonic. Aleister Crowley's house. I think he had a lot of them, but this was his property over in Scotland. And we do have some sort of hellscape footage, which we'll play now before I forget to mention it. Known formally as the Bullskin Hours. This was Aleister's home in 1899 to seclude himself and perform magic, from the Book of Sacred Magic of Abraham the Mage, which he discovered as a member of the British secret occult society, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. And it was during his time living here that he became famous for his magic, his occult practices, both around Scotland and around the world. Sometime during this period, Golden Dawn leader Samuel MacGregor Mathers invited him to Paris for advancement in the secret initiatory group, forcing Crowley to abandon their ritual. So allegedly, he left without dispelling the 12 kings and dukes of hell he had summoned. So a lot of locals blame the house's unlucky history on the evil spirits that were just left behind. Crowley himself, never one to admit a mistake, even conceded that the rituals he had performed at this home had gotten out of hand, because that's totally not terrifying at all. Many other strange tales follow the ownership of the home. In 1965, an army major took his own life, only for the housekeeper to discover him moments later. In the 1960s, this place became one of the sites to the Cadco affair, also known as the Great Sausage Scandal, a bizarre tale of how Dennis Lorraine and actor George Sanders managed to embezzle millions of pounds in government grants under the pretense of meeting a national shortage of pork products. There was also another dark celebrity owner, Led Zeppelin's Jimmy Page. He didn't spend a lot of time here. He gifted it to somebody else, Malcolm Dent. Dent reported strange and unexplained creaks, groans, and various ghostly apparitions, and became kind of annoyed by other fans who were like, "Ooh, this house is cool." Later, owners tried to dismiss any notions of hauntings or witchcraft, but tragedy continued to prove otherwise. In 2015, the residents of the house returned from a shopping trip to find it completely in flames. There was no injuries, because everything was empty when it ignited. Yeah, not gonna visit there. And here's another doozy, the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast in Massachusetts. And this is without a doubt the most famous haunted bed and breakfast in New England. It's known for doors opening and closing on their own, coupled with a mysterious floral scent that some say are signs of the Borden spirits. For those unfamiliar with the story, or the jump rope rhyme, police accused Borden of brutally killing her father and stepmother with a weapon in 1892, and she was acquitted of that later in the year. Fundamentally, the case was about whether or not somebody like Lizzie could have committed these brutal crimes. And in 1893, a jury of 12 men were like, nope, she couldn't, which produced a unanimous verdict of not guilty. No one else was charged in the death, and despite ostracism from other residents, Borden spent the remainder of her life in Fall River. She died around the age of 66. Now, some people claim to have heard noises of creaking, footsteps, unexplained laughter, and they've even seen ghostly faces appearing on a wall in the basement. In 2019, the folks from the YouTube channel Glam and Gore spent the night at the bed and breakfast, because they're like, let's see if we can make contact with some spirits. The team spent a fair amount of time seemingly talking to Lizzie's stepmother, Abby, aka the lady who had her head caved in. They asked Abby if John Morse, who was a family member and a guest of the Bordens, had killed her, and somebody said, yep, it was John, and the voice kind of sounded demonic.
Hey
While we might not know who exactly the voice belonged to, it's still pretty shocking to hear. A lot of folks say this house is haunted by everybody. Abby, her husband, and a lot of other ghosties. It may come as a surprise that any case involving the Warrens would be included on a list like this. Yeah, that was sarcasm. We're all big fans of the famed demonologists around here, and what better way to start off a demon list than with some of the most well-known demon experts of all time. We don't talk about it often, but the case of Maurice Theriault is difficult to dismiss as a hoax. Usually, psychological explanations for bizarre behavior, exaggerated reports, and a tendency to believe in the supernatural would kind of make you skeptical about a story like this one. But then, you'll see the shocking footage of the Exorcism and change your mind. Frenchie, like many alleged demonic possession victims, had a traumatic upbringing. He suffered long hours working on his family farm, dealing with his father's attitude, which became more and more violent towards his son as he became older. Frenchie began to ask for help, calling upon anybody who would offer assistance, even unknowingly asking Satan to help him. It was during this time that he witnessed something horrific in the farm's barn that is never explained fully, but it's hinted at enough. After that particularly horrific incident, Frenchie discovered that he had acquired otherworldly powers. He eventually left the farm and floated around New England for years, and in the spring of 1985, the town noticed something unusual going on with him. Humid redness would randomly appear in his home and on his body. He had increased strength and found that hidden knowledge was suddenly revealed to him. He also had the ability to be in several places at once. And yes, that was the most disturbing power that he had. It was decided that his case was one of possession, and Bishop Robert McKenna was called in and agreed to perform an exorcism. But during said exorcism, things got crazy, and not in the usual snarling and body contorting fashion. The slow morph of Maurice's face in the video of his exorcism is extremely disturbing, and the footage is only recommended for a mature audience, by the way. Off-screen, boil eruptions appeared on his skin, and even crosses appeared all over his body. But the clip that we have just oozes evil, and has convinced many skeptics that Frenchie was really possessed by a demon. Given that this case occurred in the mid-1980s, many years before the sophisticated CGI technology we have today, this footage might just be the creepiest unexplained event ever recorded. Sadly, 7 years later, Theriault killed his wife and then himself. His sister denounced the possession as a sham, saying he faked the tears and the speaking Latin backwards, but Lorraine Warren was like, it was no fake. Ed added, like, if it was mental illness or a fake, why did tables rise off the floor? We put him in a hospital for 6 weeks and the doctors couldn't explain it. This next Facebook video is perplexing, if not frightening. When you see the footage taken on Vivian Gomez's security camera, you're gonna find yourself saying what the heck along with her. So in the video that we have, you can see a short, kind of jovial figure, a scrawny frame on weak legs, gallivanting along with no reservations. This thing looks like a cross between an elf, a goblin, an alien, and a lot of folks have made comparisons to Dobby. I think that's the character's name from the Harry Potter series. So Vivian awoke one Sunday morning in 2019 and checked her monitor for any activity patterns from the night before, because gotta check your security cameras. And at first she saw a shadow falling across the front door near the camera that kind of got the figure, and moments later you saw the figure casually skipping around the driveway, doing what many spectators refer to as the chicken dance. The description included with the post states, so I woke up Sunday morning and saw this on my camera and I'm trying to figure out, like, what the heck. First I saw the shadow walking from my front door, then I saw this thing. Has anyone else seen this on their cameras? The other two cameras didn't pick it up for some reason. So the video, which has since been dubbed the Dobby video due to the figure's resemblance to the character that we mentioned earlier, has gone viral with over 180,000 shares and almost 16 million views on Facebook alone. According to an article in USA Today and several comments on the Facebook thread, some people suspect that the video might be doctored. Well, others say that maybe it was a puppet, but Gomez insists it's real. She's been quoted as saying, look, if anyone tested it or whatever they do, it would confirm it's not altered. Ghostly photos are pretty common on social media. Ditto for video. But then you look at Richard Christensen's undeniably unsettling media, and this was captured on January 1st, 2017 in Phoenix, Arizona. He's like, what the hell do you see in this for reals? Anybody? The post has since been deleted, but thank you Internet Archives. Well, he didn't take a guess at what he saw. The internet was all over it. His post prior to it being deleted had been shared like 90,000 times, had 10,000 comments. People were pretty active about this. It shows what appears to be either an evil angel or gargoyle strolling an empty street. And in the comments, a lot of folks were like, is this good? Is this bad? Is it angel? Is it demon? Some folks thought it might have been proof of the elusive Mothman. A few rational voices tried to speak up. They were like, hey, maybe it's a palm tree. But A lot of folks are like, no, this is something supernatural, possibly demonic. A video that has garnered over 2 million views has caught the attention of the mainstream media and paranormal skeptics. So in this next video, posted on YouTube by user Gamma Mori back in 2013, shows a man in a hoodie being attacked and dragged by a dark entity, possibly a ghost or a demon, in a hallway security camera. The poster says, I love how people claim the video is fake right away, just because they think that ghosts aren't real. Well, maybe the guy who was pushed down the video and dragged halfway down the hall didn't think ghosts were real until the encounter. Yes, we do have a couple of skeptics stepping forward being like, They're like, stop the video at exactly 49 seconds. You're gonna see he's detaching something from his leg. I'm 100% sure of it. Also, this is why the apparition doesn't have any reflection. The way he starts down the hall looks like acting. Like, have you never walked dramatically down a hallway? Thankfully, other people agree with me. One commenter said, I have seen plenty of these shadow people. I had one right in front of me the other day when I got out of the bath. Never been so scared. So take that, doubters. And finally for today, a Hawaiian runner said she was left with literal goosebumps after unknowingly encountering an alleged demon during a grueling race in Hawaii, as seen in a spine-tingling video. She wrote in a blog post earlier this year saying, to this day, we still don't know what it was. An avid runner since high school, Kay Borlis, the art director and designer, specializes in ultramarathons, defined as any run longer than 26 miles. This particular incident allegedly occurred in January of 2019, while Kay was competing in the Hurt 100-mile race, which is a grueling 20-mile loop through Honolulu's Mocha trails that participants run 5 times. Now this race is especially brutal due to the numerous obstacles, including thick mud-caked routes, numerous water crossings, cliffs, steep rocky inclines. The competition was going swimmingly, pun intended, until Kay injured her foot during her second to last lap and had to pull out of the race, marking the first time she'd ever done so in her career. And that's when things took a turn for the terrifying. After getting home and regrouping, her racing partner, pacing partner, Cassie, sent a bunch of photos from the race to a group chat. Well, shortly thereafter, Cassie received a text about one of the moving photos, so a live photo, which depicted a dark figure dressed in a cloak that was moving past her while she was running. This is according to the blog. Accompanying footage shows Kay jogging alongside the shady jungle trail. And then all of a sudden you get this shadowy entity emerging from the foliage and walking right past her. But neither of the ladies saw any person on that strip of trail. The reason why nobody was on that part of the trail is because all runners had to run in a clockwise direction, and tourists weren't out that early. The gals didn't see anybody for hours while running together. So they're like, okay, they're positive there was nobody there. Alarmed, Kay did do some digging about the area, and that's where they found the local legend claiming that the region is roamed by a lot of spirits. They're called night marchers. According to Honolulu magazine, these rainforest creatures supposedly traveled at night to protect people, so sacred that the common man was never allowed to look at them. Breaking that rule meant death. If found in the path of one of these creatures, mortals should, be nude, lie face down to avoid looking at them. Folklore dictates that if you were to urinate on yourself, that also might help keep you alive, and also if you share a direct descendant line with any of these specters in the procession. So Kay's lucky she didn't spot the alleged forest spirit until after the fact. After uploading the photos to social media, the cross-country competitor was swarmed by haters, who called her and Cassie a lot of mean names. Some folks even accused her of doctoring the image, and other people were like, no, it's just a crazy person on the trail. But Kay is adamant. She saw something out of the ordinary. She's like, we have the photos, and the live photo as evidence of something. She plans to return and complete the ultramarathon, by the way. Hopefully she doesn't run into anything this time.
Number 5. The Invisible Guest. Our first clip today was posted to Reddit, and it's a delightfully strange one. It's CCTV footage of a security guard working in Buenos Aires at a hospital late at night around 3 a.m. Now traditionally that's kind of like the witching hour, but no big deal or anything. Anyway, take a quick little look at the clip for us. We can see the security guard get up from his desk, clipboard in hand, opening the belt, even going so far as bringing in a wheelchair for this guest who doesn't appear to exist, at least not physically. Watch this clip as many times as you'd like, you'll never see who he's letting in because they just don't seem to exist at all. It's unsettling to say the least. Now let's put on our rational caps and take a look at this. Let's give a little Scully approach. This could just be an extremely bored security guard working the graveyard shift at a hospital doing anything to make himself entertained. I've worked long night shifts by myself, and let me tell you, I would do stupid stuff like this all the time just to keep myself entertained. Now the Mulder approach, and that's why we're here, is that this could be any number of supernatural things. A ghost? Some sort of demonic entity possessing the security guard and making him open the door. It's the way the guard does it also routinely, as if he doesn't even realize anything is wrong or, nobody's there, that makes it so unsettling. And I think that's the word for this clip. It's unsettling. It's hard to describe. The clip went fairly viral for its bizarre nature, and the hospital clarified that the guard never registered a patient to enter. So either it was a prank or the demon just didn't have enough ID on it and just waltzed on in. So let me know what you all think. Is this a bored prankster or something supernatural piercing the veil? And if you're looking for a lot more strange security footage, cryptids, creatures, tales of the unknown, or tales of the very known, Top 5 Scary has all of that and then some in spades. We've got just about everything scary you could possibly think of. So click on through, subscribe if you'd like, but stay watching this video, okay? Because we got way more scary stuff coming up for you in just a second. Number 4, a gnome. Our next clip looks like something out of the start of a low-budget, like A24 horror movie. I started watching this clip and I thought it was kind of boring, and then as soon as it got going, I literally pressed my nose to the computer screen, so I hope you do the same. This clip was posted to the subreddit Humanoid Encounters and explained that this had happened to their relatives, and they don't really know what's going on. But what we can see in the clip is bizarre. Someone is outside on their front porch, shining a light into the darkness, trying to find what is stalking them on their property. It can be a little hard to see, but behind this big rock we see what looks like tiny little hands peering out, trying not to be seen, playing a spectral game of hide and seek. It's really difficult to figure out what's going on in this clip. We only have this flashlight helping us out here, but it almost seems too like there may be more than one of these creepy little crawlies running around back there. The OP who posted the clip originally suggested that these creatures are indigenous folklore of little people, which interestingly is a myth that's surprisingly common across the globe, with cultures in Ireland, Greece, the Philippines, New Zealand, and Indonesia, to name a few, all having local legends about little people or gnomes or elves or things like that, creeping in the night. Don't you worry, that'll come up more later. Now, Scully mode for a second. This could extremely easily be someone's kids being told to play along for a prank, get some views, or even someone just hiding behind a rock playing with a doll, poking it out. The only evidence we have against this really is that the clip looks weird, and OP's word that they swear this is a close family member and wouldn't do this sort of thing. And going through the YouTube channel, you can see it's mostly just family videos, so it does make sense. So what do we think, YouTube comments? Little people creeping around, or is this a tall tale? As like a height pun. I don't know if everybody picked up on that. It's pretty smart. Number 3, creature prowling. This next clip was originally posted to TikTok and then made its way over to the subreddit High Strangeness, which I definitely recommend if you're looking for a little weird stuff in your day-to-day. Extremely fitting title because I don't think there's anywhere else this could have been posted. The footage comes to us from the Philippines and was seen late at night by a group of friends walking home. You ready for it? Here you go. So, as you could probably see in the clip, there is something horrifying prowling around on top of this roof. It certainly looks human, but looking human is an easy trick, although this creature doesn't seem like it has that one down 100% just yet. It needs a little work on its human impression. The eyes are glowing, peering out at you. The eye shining is what really gets me about this clip. It's very creepy, reminds me more of a cat or a dog's eyes when being recorded in the night than it does any human. Could this possibly be a skinwalker mid-transformation that's been caught attempting to disguise itself? It definitely fits the bill of a creature walking like an animal but looks like a human. It almost looks too like it's sussing out its options, waiting for the right moment to pounce down. Now, let's get rational, get our Scully hat on. The most likely, if not uncomfortable possibility, is that this could just be someone under the influence of one or all of the substances who's having a really bad night. However, it could also be something paranormal, supernatural, creeping around caught on camera, imitating a human being. Is this someone wearing the skin of a person, or just someone having a night they're not going to remember for a few weeks? You let me know because I could go either way on this one. Number 2, a ghost. Coming up next is this clip that was making the rounds of an Instagram user going live. The user was complaining that he had seen something strange earlier in the day. He had mentioned that he had seen what he believed to be a Dogman that he thought he saw, a fairly popular cryptid that gets mentioned every now and again and has been kind of picking up in popularity lately. He was talking on the live and then happened to hear something strange outside, so naturally he went to go look and the results were horrifying. Let's watch the clip. Did you see it? Well, we can roll it again if you didn't. At around a minute into the clip, when the user was going live, he hears something strange and goes in to check on what it was, and we see something rush by, if only for a second, that doesn't look like it came from this world even a little bit. It looks like a tall creature running by on its hind legs, and I'm gonna be honest, I immediately thought it was a werewolf. It kinda has that werewolfy vibe. Here's the thing about this one. Either this video is one of the best fakes I have ever seen, with a fantastic creature effects budget and some real impressive practical effect wizardry, and it's got an actor who really knows how to sell being scared, or this is actually something that happened to a real terrified guy and we caught his reaction live. I think it being on Instagram Live lends a little bit of credibility, I think, since it makes these things a lot harder to fake when you have to do it live. Ask any stage production. The thing doesn't seem like it's someone in a costume either. The silhouette looks all wrong. It really just does look like it was a werewolf caught on tape. Scully mode. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I have one. Molder mode. That is a werewolf. Full stop. That's a real werewolf. Why don't you all let me know down below in the comments what we think that might be down there, but that's a werewolf. I don't know if you're gonna be able to convince me otherwise. At number 1, the Costa Rica creature. Now, I spent a long time looking at some weird CCTV footage, door cam, blurry cell phone footage, trying to find something just weird and freaky to show you all for this video, and well, I think I've saved the best for last here. This footage was captured from a ring light security camera, and it's maybe one of the scariest things I've seen in a hot minute. Now, you take a little look-see for me, and I don't blame you at all if you need to scroll down to hide in the comments. It's safe there. Huh? What'd I tell you? Pretty weird clip? We can see a dog barking repeatedly at something outside, and at first I rolled my eyes because I thought, hey, this isn't anything supernatural, this is just 2 dogs barking at each other. Until I watched the clip over again and I realized what the dog was barking at is absolutely not a dog breed from this planet. No, we see something absolutely horrifying crawling around looking like a spider, like it just came out of Dead Space. The way the dog is barking really makes me stressed too. It's not just barking at something odd, it is freaking out and shrieking and screaming, and it seems panicked and scared and trying to let everyone in the neighborhood know that something deeply evil is around. This is one of those things where I look at it and rationally I want to say that this is just someone messing around, having fun, doing something for views, trying to get viral on TikTok. I'm having trouble being rational here. I just fully believe this might actually be a demonic entity that someone caught on camera, and personally I am extremely glad it is absolutely nowhere near me. Now, if you need me, I need to go watch some videos of, like, I don't know, cats being funny or something. Can we throw maybe a cat or 2 up at the end? A nice cute little guy, little palate cleanser for everybody.
Number 5 on this list is the reversed demon. This demon clearly took some gymnastic classes when they were alive as a person, because they're definitely flexing their flexibility muscles now in the demon afterlife. The clips that I'm about to show you were posted to the YouTube channel Cubaev. They were captured by a security camera and show a demon slowly crawling across the ground. So as we can see, that demon is just slowly meandering along, minding its own business. Now, you may think that this is the end of the story, but it's actually not, because that thing was caught on another security camera in the area a little bit later. Let's take a look at that. Now, what on God's green earth is that freaking thing? I mean, it has to be a demon, right? Like, what the hell? Its face is clearly all white, completely inhuman. And now that we can fully see the way that it walks, we get a clear sense of how demonic it actually is. I think the biggest question that comes up through all of this, though, is what is it doing and where's it going? Fingers crossed that whatever it was doing doesn't concern any one of us. Number 4 on this list is Cubaev Square. Back in 2015, a video was uploaded to YouTube from an account named Demon Operator. The video is only 50 seconds long and shows someone getting chased by a demon or monster in Cubaev Square. Let's roll 30 seconds of that clip and see what you guys think about this demon. So the man gets into the park, and just to the left of him is this completely demonic looking spider creature. It's slow out of the gate, but then it starts coming after him. The final 10 seconds of the video is going to show this thing get really close to him and then spit what looks to be some green toxic fluid out at him. Let's roll that now. So yeah, let's put it this way. Whatever this thing was, it definitely isn't human or any sort of animal that we're aware of. Now, can I say for sure that it's a demon? No, I can't, but I can say that it definitely looks very dangerous. Watch your back, everybody. This thing came after this dude in broad daylight in the park. Number 3 on this list is the scariest video that you'll ever watch. That's actually what the YouTubers Mindseed TV titled this video that they posted roughly about a year ago. In this video, several guys are on a ghost hunt late at night in a haunted home. The whole video is roughly 40 minutes long and they capture a ton of cool stuff. One of the scariest parts of this entire video, though, is what I'm about to show. Did you guys see it? It was pretty fast, so I understand if you didn't. From behind the bushes of this man's home, there was a creature that looked very far from being human. Let's get a closer look at this thing, and you guys feel free to comment down below what the heck you think this thing is. So seriously, what the heck is that? It almost looks like it has some underwater qualities, but like, obviously that doesn't make any sense at all. I personally think this is a demon of some kind, but what it wants with this man and where it came from, these are all questions that we may not be getting answers to anytime soon. And finally, number 1 on this list is the hallway demon. This next video was posted back at the end of 2020 and shows somebody getting into a very close encounter with what looks to be a dangerous demon. Yeah, so if that's me, I am getting the hell out of there, folks. I don't care what I think I know about demons or how many freaking boxing classes I've taken in the past. I am not sticking around to see how I'd fare against something like that. Also, let's face it though, the person filming was going through a totally abandoned building that had rumors of a haunting. They pretty much knew what they were getting into with this one. Still though, very scary nonetheless.
How about we kick off today with a demonic piñata shop? I know, sounds very Five Nights at Freddy's. Bear with me here. Mario Landa, the owner of said party shop, was terrorized by a demon after it became attached to a particular one in his store. At first, the haunted piñata would be on the floor in the morning when Mario arrived to open the shop, and then workers started finding it in other places. So the shop was outfitted with security cameras to solve the mystery. Late one night, the cameras captured a bizarre clown face with scraggly hair and dark eyes, big dark ones, rising from a pile of piñatas. Another night, a piñata was captured as it spun out of control. Something demonic was inhabiting the store. Now, in one of the clips, you can see what appears to be a ghost, or the presence of a being, that throws a piñata, like just chucks it. Now, this footage was originally uploaded to Facebook, and then the very popular Travel Channel show, Paranormal Caught on Camera, decided it needed to be talked about more and featured it. And I promise you, this won't be the only story from that show that I talk about today. Next up, we have footage from 2020. Okay, before anybody panics, I'm talking about the American news magazine that's been broadcasted on TV since June of like 1978. Not the awful year. Now, if we're talking years, on April 5th of 1991, the show featured a segment that showed an actual Roman Catholic ritual of casting out demons. Videotaped at a nun's home in suburban Palm Beach County, the segment shows an affected girl, referred to only as Gina, as she thrashes under the effect of ancient prayers. What's happening? Well, she's sprinkled with holy water, there's a cross being pressed to her head, and what's she doing? Well, retching, writhing, yowling, baring teeth. Get out of here. Me not want to leave. She's shrieking all of that at the priest as one hand snaps the gauze bonds tying her to the chair. If the exorcism team hadn't tied Gina down, she might have levitated to the ceiling. Now, at the time, the March 25th issue of U.S. News and World Report carried no fewer than 5 articles on hell and the devil, citing a poll that 6 out of 10 Americans believed in the netherworld, which is 2% more than in the church heyday of the 1950s. Another poll released in August of the same year said 55% of Americans believe in the devil, 49% in demonic possession. Most Catholic leaders say possession is rare, with Reverend Kenneth Doyle, communications director for the National Conference of Catholic Bishops, stating he's only heard of a handful of exorcisms in the last 40 years. But I think that's just a PR statement. Here's the thing, when churchmen do perform an exorcism, they don't want to talk about it. The main exorcist in any report is only known as Father A, and his face obscured. Sister Lois Schaefer and the Reverend Walton Dockrell of St. Rita Parish near West Palm Beach, who took part in the exorcism that we have the video of today, said through a secretary, no comment. Now, Palm Beach Bishop J. Keith Simmons, who permitted the taping, issued only like a 4-paragraph statement saying the devil really exists. He is powerful and actively at work in the world today, as through the centuries, which echoes Cardinal John O'Connor of New York. Now, it was O'Connor's remark that there can be no question about the reality of the devil that initially drew the interest of the TV show, especially after the church got 75 requests from around the country to investigate possible cases of possession. Who got that sucker of a job? Reverend James Labar, a specialist in the occult, who looked into some of the initial claims and was like, Gina, yeah, you're being tormented by demons. According to the report, she experienced psychotic episodes, visions of demons and dead people. Her mom tried everything. She brought her to hospital, she brought her to specialists. Didn't do anything. Now, at the footage, the priests say the girl was controlled by 10 evil spirits. They meet her violent reactions by following the prayers and gestures of that rite. This whole ordeal to try and banish the demons? 6 hours, which apparently isn't uncommon for exorcism lengths. Now, before the procedure even took place, Father A mentioned how it's a terrifying experience. He could die tomorrow, or be attacked and taken over. Evil spirits like to take their sweet time leaving a body, and not without a fight, and that leaves everybody involved drained, exhausted, and not doing so well in the health department. Also quoted is Dr. Warren Schlanger of the Miami hospital, where Gina was treated before and after the exorcism, and he's like, yeah, she got better afterwards. Well, after the exorcism, but she was still pretty weak. Father A, he wasn't doing so hot afterwards. He believes the devil is disturbing his sleep because it wants to weaken and destroy him, which he just considers that the price he has to pay as the church's point man against demons. Now, the footage that we have today, the church actually tried taking it down because they don't want it to be public anymore. But don't worry, folks, I got you. I think it's time for me to talk about my favorite creepy demonic doll, Annabelle. So back when I was in high school, I actually got to portray her, local haunted house, whole thing. What we're talking about today, the folks over at the Overnight YouTube channel were granted permission to stay overnight in Ed and Lorraine Warren's museum, which is unheard of. But thankfully for us, they captured their experience on a variety of recording devices, making a very long series going in depth that I totally recommend watching. But if you don't feel like spending a couple of hours doing so, don't worry, that's what I'm here for. So one thing I'd like to point out is how Annabelle decided to mess around on camera. I think if we're looking at timestamps, it was 58:29. Her eyes are pretty small, and they move a little bit, which she's a rag doll, that's not supposed to happen. But then at 58:52, when the camera is panned back to her, her eyes are back to normal, and like double the size in comparison to the first time slot. Now, when user Mason8363 mentioned this in the comment section, I thought it had to be like a trick of the light or something, so I went back and I took some screenshots on my phone. And what do you know, I didn't need them. I could tell clear as day that Annabelle's eyes had grown. And once again, folks, that's not supposed to happen. Now, if you're like, okay, who's Annabelle? What's going on with this? Why is she demonic? Don't worry. I know the story off by heart pretty much. The real story, that is, not the Hollywood movie, which we love. Donna and Angie were student nurses, good friends, sat at a room together while in school, and for Donna's 28th birthday, her mom gifted her a very large Raggedy Ann doll. And she was thrilled, which, like, so would I be. Give me dolls any day. Soon after adopting the precious doll, Donna started to notice some weird behavior and weirdness going on in the apartment. She would leave Annabelle in her bed every morning behind her locked bedroom door, seating her the same way with her arms and legs crossed, and would come home at night to Annabelle having moved rooms and in positions that weren't possible. She's described a few instances of the doll kneeling, and once again, stuffed dolls can't kneel. They don't have the joints for that. Donna and Angie then started finding notes left throughout the apartment written on parchment paper and red pen, which they didn't own parchment paper or red pens. When Donna's boyfriend Lou started criticizing the doll, because guys, dolls, stereotypes, unexplainable handprints and scratches began appearing on his body. And that's when the girls were like, okay, we need a priest. And then the priest brought in the Warrens. Before that, they had brought in a medium who had told them that there was a ghost attached to the doll, Annabelle Higgins. Turns out that was false. Ed came in and was like, that's a demon. So he got the doll out, calmed it down, brought it home. Not without its trials and tribulations, though. Annabelle's gotten up to some stuff over the years. And ever since, she's been one of the many demonic items that live in the museum. I can't even imagine what kind of a hotbed that place is, because Ed and Lorraine had the common sense to keep demonic items from being released back into the world. But now that they've passed away, I can't say the same about their son-in-law, Tony Sparrow. He seems like he's doing anything for a quick buck and sensationalism, and that's not safe. So when you're a 911 dispatcher and things go weird, who do you call? Because you can't call Ghostbusters and, well, you're the emergency services. This video comes from a dispatcher who was alone in her office and she heard some knocking. This comes from a dispatcher who was alone in the office one night when she heard some knocking, some other strange sounds, and she saw some really weird shadows. She recorded the activity with her phone over the course of like a week. One night, as she stared down the hallway, she saw a tall, dark figure leaning out of the break room and looking towards her. And as she screamed, it ducked into the room. The dispatcher slammed the door shut, called for police to check the building, and there was nobody there. So yes, this was another video that was showcased on Paranormal Con on camera, and it took me a while to validate this one. When I was watching it, I was like, okay, we got nothing. I was about to click off, and then I saw the mysterious figure in the doorway. And I was like, okay, maybe it's just a lighting trick. And then I realized, I'm like, oh no, this is not a lighting trick. This is not something anybody would want to fake. This is terrifying. Absolutely not. And finally, to end off today, we're consulting some experts who explored an abandoned nursing home. The spine-tingling 2-minute clip begins innocently enough with the two adventurers who go by the name Finders Beepers History Seekers here on YouTube, and they were exploring the really icky interior of a dilapidated building. You know, like any regular ghost hunting show. And as they were standing in the laundry room, their equipment picked up some stuff that sounded like a young girl answering their questions. And as they walked through a stairwell, one of the men spotted something from the corner of his eye on the landing above them. Now, the entity walked away and the guys thought it was just somebody else in the building. And they were like, okay, whatever. They didn't think it was anything spectral. They thought it was just like a homeless person, another explorer. Then, they went up and investigated for themselves. And they realized the only thing in the direction in which the figure moved through was a wall with a hole too tiny to escape through. It also led to a steep drop-off from the top floor of the freaky facility. So there was no way anybody could have gotten back across the top of the stairs without these two guys capturing it on camera. And the footage shows there was nowhere for anybody to go. Which, terrifying. Because I saw it and I was like, okay, yeah, it's like a homeless guy. And then it's very much not. Dubbed the nursing home from hell, this building used to house dozens of people before it was forced to close in 2015 for employing criminals, keeping patients in bad conditions, you name it.
Number 5. A gnome? Is a gnome a demon? I don't know, I find most gnomes benevolent, actually, but they could be. Our next clip looks like something out of the start of a low-budget horror movie, bit of an A24 vibe. I started watching this clip, and then as soon as it got going, I literally pressed my nose to my computer screen, so I hope you do the same. The clip was posted to the subreddit r/humanoid encounters. I definitely recommend it if you're into this sort of thing. There's a lot of really good humanoid encounters on there. And the poster explained that this has happened to their relatives, but they don't know what's going on. What we can see in the clip is bizarre. Someone is outside on their front porch, shining a light into the darkness, trying to find what is stalking them on their property. It can be a little hard to see, but behind the big rock, we see what looks like teeny tiny little hands peering out, trying not to be seen, playing a little game of know me hide and seek. Now, it can be hard to make out what exactly is going on in this clip, but it almost seems too like there might be more than one of those little creepy crawlers wiggling around back there. Now, the original poster suggested that these creatures are indigenous folklore of little people, which I think this is pretty interesting. Is a myth that is almost ubiquitous across the globe. Pretty much every people's, Ireland, Greece, the Philippines, New Zealand, Indonesia, and so many more, all have stories of gnomes or elves or little mischievous people creeping about in the night. I just find it interesting that the whole planet all has that myth. Are they all wrong, or are gnomes real? Now, to put on our Scully hat for a second, get a little dowdy, this could extremely easily be somebody playing along for a prank, or someone just hiding behind a rock playing with a doll, poking it out. The only evidence we have that this is a gnome is OP's word that they swear this is a close family member and they wouldn't do this sort of thing. And you can go through the YouTube channel, you see it's mostly just family videos, so that does make sense. So I toss it over to you, my beloved YouTube commenter gang. You guys keep me young. I love those comments. Little people creeping around, or is this just a tall tale? Woof. I spent all night working on that pun. And if you're looking for more videos of ghosts and goblins and gnomes with this guy talking over them, I've got lots of that for you on our channel. Hit subscribe so you don't miss any of it. Make sure you ring that bell so you doubly don't miss any of it. But if you really cared about me, no, I'm not saying you do. You do it at the end of this video so you can watch all the other demons caught on camera first, because I got 4 more coming. Number 4, Dogman. Coming up next is this clip that was making the rounds around the spookier sides of the internet of an Instagram user going live. The user was complaining that he'd seen something strange earlier in the day, referring to a Dogman that he thought he had seen. Now, that is different from a werewolf. A Dogman is a fairly popular cryptid that gets mentioned every now and again, kind of like a Goatman or a Mothman deal. It's like a bipedal wolf, but it's not a werewolf, okay? If you think it's a werewolf, that's a different thing. Anyway, this guy was talking on live and heard something strange outside and went to go check. Let's go with him and let's go watch the clip. Now we can roll it again if you didn't see it, but at around a minute into the clip, when the user going live hears something strange and goes in to check on what it was, we see something rush by, if only for a second, that does not look like it's from this world at all. Looks like a tall creature running by on its hind legs. And I know it does give off a werewolfy vibe. I get it. It looks like a werewolf. I get it. But it's a Dogman. It's totally different. I don't have the time to explain the difference, but a Dogman and a werewolf are totally different. Now here's the thing. Either this video is one of the best fakes I've ever seen, and I watch a ton of supernatural videos, so I like to think I got an eye for it. It's got a great budget and actor who really knows how to sell a scare, or this is something that actually happened to a real terrified guy. It being on Instagram Live gives it a little bit more credibility, you know? It's harder to fake things in camera on live. It doesn't really seem like someone in a costume, it just looks like it was a Dogman caught on camera. Okay, so realist, Scully mode, I don't know if I have one. Molder mode, that's a Dogman. That's a Dogman all the way down. Why don't you all let me know down below what we think is going on down there, and also if you have some insight on the werewolf Dogman debate, lend a hand. I'm fighting a losing battle here. Number 3, strange things in Montana. Montana is sometimes called the treasure state. All the gold and silver that have been uncovered there, and also for lesser reasons for all the wild cryptid stories that come out of it. For seekers of the supernatural, Montana is a treasure trove, a real treasure state. Now, Deer Lodge is a city in Montana, and it's purported to be a hotbed of supernatural occurrences. Rumored to be home to creatures that defy classification and scientific convention and avoid the trail cams. until recently. A local rancher from Deer Lodge caught something bizarre on his land when something tripped the motion sensor on his trail camera. Now the black and white footage shows a blindingly bright glowing humanoid with what looks like an oversized and oblong head walking bizarrely in front of the camera. My first thought is that Simpsons episode has Mulder and Scully guest starring. The Simpsons episode with Mulder and Scully where Mr. Burns is glowing green through the woods. That's what I'm thinking of when I see this. Now this trail cam was miles away from any roads or trails, so there shouldn't be anybody creeping around. But there is. The rancher returned to the site of the photo and stood in the same spot and tried to mimic the composition of what he saw. When he posed himself against and compared the other image, he came out looking pretty human, compared to the sort of odd alien proportions of the glowing being, which also happened to be devoid of any features. So what was it? Now some believe it to be extraterrestrial life. Popular. The show Ancient Aliens, the most reputable name in alien news, took the trail camera footage to analyze for authentication. No alterations, manipulations, inconsistencies were discovered of any kind. Well, I don't know what's going on in there. Others wondered if perhaps the creature could be a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch or maybe even some other manner of currently undiscovered or unknown cryptid we don't even know about. This could be a first contact scenario. So what do you think was caught on this trail cam? An alien? A Sasquatch? Something dreadfully normal? We may never know, but it's fun to theorize. Number 2. The Sadako Trampoline. Have you ever seen The Ring? Or perhaps the original, Ringu? Probably not, because if you saw The Ring, you would have died roughly 7 days after that, and then you wouldn't be able to watch all of these lovely videos on Top 5 Scary, and I'd miss you too much. The Japanese original is one of my favorite horror movies ever, which you probably notice if you watch this channel a lot, because I crowbar references in to Sadako roughly 3 times a week in these videos. Not my fault, she's the definitive ghost girl, love her in Dead by Daylight, big fan of her. I can't think of many things I've seen in my life half as creepy as that image of Sadako stretching herself out of the TV into the real world, the greasy, long, stringy black hair over her pallid face. Oh, well, exactly for what happens in this next clip, which is just as terrifying. Take a look. At first, it seems like someone filming some summer fun, until you get a better look at what appears to be a figure clad all in white, crawling out from under the trampoline, looking a lot like Sadako crawling out of that TV. Definitely has me scratching my head watching over again. Now, not everyone is as convinced as your easily convinced crypt keeper. One commenter on the video attempted to debunk it as a fake, lending a little bit of insight as a video editor. They said, I'll guess that the ghost figure is a clip of someone standing up, which has been motion tracked and composited in with blurring and opacity. If the shot was stabilized, like I'm guessing it was, this would be fairly straightforward and easy. The camera shake could be added in digitally after the motion tracking is done to really sell the shot. I noticed a blur on what looks like the ghost's back as it stands up, and the jumper's leg passes over the figure, and this blur is whipped away. The clip stops as the figure is moving above the black netting, which is being used to conceal any editing artifacts. Well, okay, so it sounds like they know a lot about video editing, infinitely more than I do, and that's all well and reasonable, but could also be a ghost. Who's faking ghost videos? That's too much time in the day to be faking ghost videos. Number 1. The Jersey Devil. The infamous Jersey Devil is said to haunt the Pine Barrens of New Jersey. There are a ton of spins and variations on its origins, and if you're really curious, search Jersey Devil on our channel, nobody else's, okay? Don't need anybody else taking all those views. There's tons and tons of stories about it, but one of the most famous variations is that at a place called Leeds Point, during a thunderstorm in 1735, a Quaker woman gave birth. As the room flickered with light, the wind howled, and the poor mother who'd already raised 12 infants gave birth to the 13th. Now, some say the 13th was cursed by the devil. Some say she cursed it herself. But the story goes that this 13th child would not emerge normal, but with winged shoulders, a horse's head, cloven feet, and a wretched tail. It would soar out into the night, casting itself in the annals of folklore as the Jersey Devil. Now, over the years, there have been tons of sightings of the alleged Jersey Devil. At one point during the early 20th century, sightings would get posted in the hundreds in local newspapers. Now, our local newspapers don't reference cryptids as much as they used to. I'd like us to get back to that. But what we do have is TikTok capturing it, the modern day newspaper. Take a look at this wild footage that has been going viral across TikTok and Instagram. We see the horrific creature perched, and yeah, I'm not in the business of patronizing you. This is a CGI creature. It's impressively rendered, and they did a good job editing into the scene, but that background isn't Jersey, for starters. The problem is they made this look too good. The creature is too well modeled and animated in a broad daylight setting. You know, a really good cryptid fake would have had the camera a lot grainier and blurrier, and I personally would have set it somewhere a little more rural, a little more farmlandy, foresty, but it's entertaining nonetheless, right?
Number 5 on this list is the Lackanon. These are tricky demons, and if they approach you, then you need to be very wary. Wikipedia says Dalakanons are a race of elf-like creatures in Philippine mythology. In Visayans, they were believed to be handsome and beautiful creatures that resemble nobles and monarchs of the pre-Hispanic Philippines. They dwell on Dalakit trees, hence the name Dalakanon, which literally means from the Dalakit or Dakit tree. This mythological race exhibits sexual dimorphism, the men having light-colored skin and very dark hair, and women having bronze-brown skin and brown hair. Stories say that they have leaf-shaped pointy ears, depicted in modern times as gothic, like tall, handsome males and beautiful females. They dress in fashionable manner, live in the haunted house-like mansions, and try to fit in with mortal people. Some believe that the only way to Dalakit, their dwelling place, is by entering the Dalakit trees. These creatures abduct people and take them back to this world. They hold a feast for their victims and force them to eat the black rice that then puts them under their spell, making them their slaves. So that sounds like the actual worst. You get taken to their mystical land and then forced to eat this rice, which, I mean, I can only imagine is gonna be something really gross, because then it makes you their slave. My question is, what the hell does becoming their slave even entail? Like, what is this world that I now live in, and what is it that I have to do here? I guess I'm in some evil elf-like hell or something, but that doesn't really sound like a great time. The biggest problem with this is that you need to be super vigilant, or else it's very likely that they could get you. If you don't notice those pointy ears, then that could be game over, guys. Number 4 on this list is the Amalenhig. The Amalenhig are sort of like the Philippines version of a zombie. Myths and folklore says, in the Philippine mythology, the Amalenhig or Marinhig are flightless aswang that came back to life after death. They rise from their grave after failing to pass their power to a relative. Upon rising from the grave, these Amalenhig lurk in the woods and live as bloodsuckers. At night, they go to nearby villages to prey on the residents using their sharp pointed tongue. Aside from the Amalenhig of Aswang origins, some deceased humans could also turn into Amalenhig. These are people who died with unfinished business or were murdered and came back for revenge. The Amalenhig with unfinished business are relentless in pursuing the persons they have chosen to fulfill their goals. Avenging Amalenhig tickle their victims to death while sucking their life force. According to one legend a long time ago, before the Spaniards came to the Philippines, a chieftain ordered his priestess to create an army of warriors that couldn't be killed. These immortals were created by killing ordinary men and encrusting their bodies with dark soot, putting a strange pebble in their mouths and doing other rituals. After 3 days, they came back to life, but they were mindless, walking corpses that only died after accomplishing their task. They had me right up until I learned that they tickle their victims to death. Like, don't get me wrong, I still do not want to run into something like this, but I guess it's just hard to be scared of something that's gonna tickle me to death. The whole sucking my life force thing, yeah, that sounds like the worst. I don't want any part of that. But tickling? Really? We couldn't have come up with any other way of murdering people, guys? Number 3 on this list is the pugot. I get serious Stranger Things Demogorgon vibes with this next demon creature. Myths and folklore says, in the Philippine mythology, the pugot, which translates to the decapitated one, is a mythical fiend that's found in the Ilocos region. It can assume various shapes such as hogs, dogs, or even as humans. However, it usually appears as a black, gigantic, headless being. The creature usually resides in dark places or deserted houses. However, they especially like living in trees such as the Theriault, Santol, and Tamarind. Aside from its shape-shifting abilities, the pugot can also move at great speeds, feeding on snakes and insects that it finds among the trees. It feeds by thrusting food through its neck stump. Although terrifying, the pugot is relatively harmless. However, the creature is fond of women's underwear and steals them when they're being dried on a clothesline. The pugot is also found in the Il Fuoco myth Tulod Nimputo, the self-beheaded, where he appears to the human hero. He was fed by the hero with chopped chicken meat that was mixed with blood. So I guess the good thing about this is that even though it has incredible power and speed and could be super dangerous, it chooses not to be. Well, unless you're a pair of ladies' underwear, in which case you might be in for it. Actually though, what is up with these Philippines demons? They're just kind of plain creepy, guys. Like, we had the tickle zombie and now we have the headless Demogorgon panty thief. I swear that this legend was just made up by like some super weird guy just as an excuse for why their neighbor's underwear kept going missing. Number 2 on this list is the Bati-Bat. This is a very dangerous demon and one that you do not want to piss off. Myths and folklore says in the Philippine mythology, the Bati-Bat or Bangungot is a vengeful demon found in Ilocano folklore. These demons were blamed as the cause of the fatal nocturnal disease called Bangungot. They usually come in contact with humans when the tree that they reside in is felled and made into a support post for a house. This causes them to migrate into holes found in the post. The Bati-Bat forbids humans from sleeping near its post. When a person does sleep near it, the Bati-Bat transforms to its true form and then attacks that person. It sits upon the chest of its victim until he suffocates. To ward off the Bati-Bat, one should bite one's thumb or wiggle one's toes. In this way, the person will awaken from the nightmare induced by the Bati-Bat. Once again, guys, we just have one of the scariest demons here with also the weirdest caveat attached to it. To ward this thing off, we need to wiggle our toes? Like, are you actually kidding me? I mean, at least this one doesn't steal panties, I guess, so, I mean, that's a thing. Also, this one, unlike some of the others, is actually very deadly. You could easily die from this thing if you're unable to wiggle your toes, which would actually be rather hard considering you're going to be asleep when this thing attacks, you know, so it could be game over. I could totally see how if I was living in the Philippines, this thing would be one of my biggest fears. Like, I would exclusively be living in like a brick house or something. No wooden posts for me. And finally, number 1 on this list is the Ek-Ek. This one had to be number 1, and when you hear what it does and how it operates, you'll understand why. Wikipedia says in Philippine mythology, Ek-Ek are bird-like human creatures. They are winged humans who search for victims at night. They hunger for flesh and blood. They're usually described as flying creatures that look like the Menangle but are unable to divide or split their body in the way that that one does. The Ek-Ek is also associated with the Walk-Walk because of some similar characteristics. The only difference between a Walk-Walk and Ek-Ek is that Ek-Ek has a bird-like bill whereas the Walk-Walk has none. The Ek-Ek can transform into a huge bird or bat at night to prowl in the form of. Similar to the Menangle, the Ek-Ek looks for sleeping pregnant women. Then it extends a very long proboscis into the womb and kills the fetus by draining its blood. It's said that while this is taking place, a ek-ek-ek sound is often heard. The Ek-Ek fools people into thinking that it's far off in the distance by producing a faint sound when it's actually really near. What the actual heck, guys? Most of these other demons are derpy dudes looking for underwear and tickles, but this thing? This is for real. Fetuses and blood draining and just no, I don't want it. How on earth does the Philippines grow in population with these things roaming around? I'd be too scared of having this thing come attack in the middle of the night. And tons of people feel the same way. Many rituals and services are done to try to ward off these creatures. I hope that some of these work because if they don't, the consequences could be dire.